So many women that I have connected with since I wrote that book talk about how they have to shut the bathroom door and
Mhm.
sit on the floor and cry to get some space.
Wow.
And that's just wrong. That's just wrong. And it has a lot to do with the cultural ethos in the United States, at least, which is we have to be every woman. We have to
Mm.
be here for everyone all the time. And we are at the bottom of the list.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Lunid Lewis, and today it is an honor, it is a joy to introduce a very special guest to the show, Suzanne Falter. She is a writer, a podcaster, a speaker, and whose work has appeared in Self, More, Fitness, New Women, in the New York Times. I mean, this woman is well known, and I'm excited to have her on the show because she herself is the host of Selfcare for Extremely Busy Women podcast. She is the author of multiple self-help titles, including The Extremely Busy Woman's Guide to Self-Care and the upcoming book and serial podcast, Free Spirited. She speaks virtually
Wow.
and on stage about self care, and she is all about transformation. Now, I had the honor of being on her show last week, so it is such an honor to kind of give this back and bring her on to hear her story because it is powerful and I've gotten to know her and already she's like a sister to me. So Suzanne, with no further
Oh,
ado, welcome to the show.
Lunid, you are darling. Thank you for having me. Great intro. Much appreciated.
It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. So tell us about your journey so far. I mean, you are well versed. You've been an author. You're an author, well-known speaker. But walk us through your journey here so far.
Well, very major something happened in the middle of my career in 2012. As you mentioned, I've been an author for many, many years and written a lot of different types of books, self-help and fiction and so forth. And I was pretty much a driven workaholic who was dabbling in the world of internet marketing, the
Mm-hmm.
dark world of internet marketing, around 2012. And my daughter, Teal, suddenly died from a medically unexplainable cardiac arrest a few hours after we had dinner one
Wow.
night in a restaurant in San Francisco. She just died, and the cause of her death is unknown. And what was transformational about this for me, I mean, when you go through the death of a child, your whole life stops. Everything goes on pause,
Mm-hmm.
including your workaholic behavior and the businesses that drove you to do this. So I had to stop everything for 2 years, Lunita.
Wow.
I didn't work. And during that time, I just grieved and I focused on relearning who I was. And I made a determination at the time of her death that I was going to use this as a catalyst to become a better person, very much like she was,
Mm-hmm.
because she was a very present, very compassionate, very loving, very dear soul who
Right.
really didn't care about how much money she made or how successful she was or how many likes she had on Facebook or, any
Mm-hmm.
of that stuff. What she cared about people. And she had epilepsy, which may or may not have been the cause of her cardiac arrest. If it was an extremely rare situation. Um, so she was very focused on self care. And after her death, she left behind journals that I read and really began to absorb. And a lot of them were about asking her higher power, her, spiritual connection, what do I do about this and that? And how do I move through the world? And the entries were so extraordinarily beautiful. And I was so moved by them while I was doing this searching of my own. And what I learned during that 2 year period was to stop being so externally focused and start to focus on me and my needs and how I was doing and what it was going to take to fulfill me and make me happy again.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I discovered self care. Self care is not something I really knew much about. Self care was something I put off. I would have a massage every quarter.
Yep.
That was it. And I was like, I'm good. I'm good on self care. I exercise a lot. It was like frenetic. It was
Yeah.
frenetic. And what I see, I mean, I was this extremely busy woman, which is why I wrote a book for extremely busy women, because I know what the mindset is. And the
Right.
mindset is you're never enough. You're never going to do enough. You got to do it alone, and it's got to be perfect. And that was how I lived my life until Teal's death. And Teal lived the opposite. It's more important to be present. It
Mm.
doesn't matter what you accomplish as long as you are happy and the people around you are in good shape and have what they need and you have what you need,
Yeah.
and that you're all in it together. That was her MO. So I began to really learn about that. And when I wrote my book, The Extremely Busy Woman's Guide to Self-Care, it's not how to jam more stuff into your day. It's
Mm-hmm.
about how to undo some of the stuff in your day. It's
Wow.
about how to ask for help and get it. And I'm not talking about hiring help. I'm talking about finding help from your community. It's about building a community.
Yeah.
It's about having people you can really talk to. It's about listening to yourself and determining what you need. So many women that I have connected with since I wrote that book talk about how they have to shut the bathroom door and
Mm-hmm.
sit on the floor and cry to get some space.
Wow.
And that's just wrong. That's just wrong. And it has a lot to do with the cultural ethos in the United States, at least, which is we have to be every woman. We have
Mm.
to be here for everyone all the time. And we are at the bottom of the list. So the journey includes this Facebook group, which is how you and I met each other.
Yeah.
And, through the whole time, that 2-year period when I wasn't working, I knew I was supposed to do something with sort of Teal's healing message, but I did not know what it was. I couldn't quite put my finger on it.
How
And
did
I
it
didn't
come to you?
realize, well, I didn't realize it was about self care. I
Mm-hmm.
just knew that slowly I was going to kind of like beat my way out of this paper bag of not knowing. And in order to do that, I had to accept not knowing and get comfortable with not knowing. And once I did that, everything started to fall into place. And I noticed, I wrote this little guide to self care as a free giveaway. And I noticed that people really loved it, really loved it. So I was like, I could talk about self care. Self care is what I'm learning here. And it's like slowly the pieces came together. And then a literary agent came out of nowhere and said, I love your work. Do you have a book on this? And I didn't. So I put one together. And then, that went to a publisher. And then I started the podcast, the
Mm-hmm.
Self Care for Extremely Busy Women podcast. Started it almost 3 years ago. And I've just been like slowly building this out. But the most amazing thing that happened, and it really was like so many things on this path, it just came out of nowhere. I had a Facebook group that was kind of working along and slowly growing, and I felt good. It was at 10,000 and members, and people were respectful and kind to each other, and it seemed to be fulfilling a need, and I felt good about that. And every day I'd get, maybe 100 member requests or something.
Oh, wow.
One morning I woke up and I had 2,700 member requests, and it
Ooh.
was like, I read that wrong. That can't be right. So I go in and I look at it, and it is 2,700 women looking for self-care. It is not the same person 2,700 times, or it's not all fake profiles. So the next day there were 3,600. A week later, there were 5,700 one morning. I mean,
Wow.
it just went up and up and up. And in 6 weeks, the group went from 10,000 to 55,000. And that was with turning away 50,000 people that had not agreed to the rules.
Mm.
So this to me became the new space of healing and spreading this message. Now, I want to add something very important, which was that Teal, in her sweet, free spirited, compassionate way, wanted to be a healer. And she didn't really know how she was going to be a healer. She just knew she was supposed to be a healer. So in comes this Facebook group, and I'm like, I've created this group so all these women can help heal each other.
Mm.
And that's what goes on. So it feels to me like self-care has led me to this place of fulfilling Teal's legacy.
That is powerful. That is powerful, Susan. Thank you for sharing that. Her legacy lives on, and through
Yeah.
her journal, I loved her journals. How you said there was a lot of questions to her higher power and how to be, how to show
Yes.
up every day.
Yes. How
Yeah,
to show up every day. That's it.
how to be the woman of essence, and how to be more present, and that is challenging, as you mentioned. A lot of moms, a lot of busy women, because we have to be all women to everyone, we have to be support to everyone, really don't get a downtime, really, all
No.
rushing to the bathroom to actually make that quiet time to themselves, and it shouldn't be that way. How can the women begin to develop this self-care and make it priority?
Well, one of the things that I loved about coming on the show is that your focus is on routines. And routines are the key to this because when you have a routine, you have committed to it.
Yeah.
You have said, I claim this. I'm using this time for me. And a routine, as you have pointed out, can be very short. It doesn't have to be a big 1 hour long routine, right?
Yeah.
But a routine is a routine. So the first thing women need to do is understand they're not wrong for wanting self care. They
Mm.
actually need self care. The women who have poor self care are 8 times more likely to suffer from heart disease. And I'm talking about going on vacations, having adequate sleep, eating a reasonable diet. It isn't all just how much cholesterol you're eating, it's also about how are you balancing your life.
Mhm.
So we have to do this. If we care about our children or our employers or our family members, we have to do this. If we can't do it for us, do it for them. And really, I think one of the keys to this whole thing is boundaries and being able to say no. And when someone is disappointed, allowing the guilt to come up, but then pass.
Yeah.
Because just because somebody else doesn't like it doesn't mean it's wrong. What it means is you are honoring something you need and you are empowering yourself. And will they always be angry about it or annoyed about it? Probably not. This too will
Yeah.
pass,
Right.
right?
The power of saying no, it really is. It's a grounding, it's grounding to be able to stand firm in that
Yeah.
answer, and love yourself enough to say no. And I think
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to, right? Because you were
Yeah.
saying
Got it.
we're so busy, we're not enough, we have to be perfection, we have to be everything to everyone else. Yet we don't put ourselves first. We don't love ourselves enough to say, I'm going to commit to this routine and that
Yeah.
commitment. I'm going to stand my ground and actually say, no, I will not be talked to like that, or be treated or
Mm-hmm.
exhaust myself at the expense of making everyone else happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
those beliefs, it's those I call them ants, automatic negative thoughts, these limiting beliefs.
That is great because you know what? They are crawling around your brain
Yep.
like a swarm of ants. They
Yep.
really are. And they seem to multiply. I love it.
Yeah. They do multiply, and it's scary, and a lot of it is it's really how we were, but is programmed is the word. We're programmed at an early age, right? We've been programmed to be a caregiver, a caretaker, and put everyone first, put everyone before us. But if we're not well, we're useless to everyone around us.
So
That's
it
the
is.
risk. So that's the risk. And so for when it comes to get to tapping into those limiting beliefs, how do you help women go there to that mindset shift? Where do we begin?
Well, I can't even tell you what a huge deal guilt is
Mm-hmm.
because in our Facebook group, people are always posting about guilt. I feel so guilty taking time away from my baby, even though I really need a nap. Can I really ask my husband? He's worked all day. I agreed to stay home and take care of the baby for a while. Now I feel bad. It's like, uh, this is where balance will help. And the automatic preset is to feel guilty in a situation involving nurturing or taking care of, some tasks at work that you think nobody else is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you find yourself thinking, oh, I'd better do that because nobody else will, or I better do that because I'm going to do it better. Just notice that. Because when you say no, somebody else gets to say yes. Somebody else gets the opportunity. Somebody else gets to prove to themselves they can do something. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's often, I've noticed in some organizations and in places of employment that it's always the same people who volunteer for stuff. And that's a preset. That's the same preset as feeling guilty. The I
Yeah.
have to do it because nobody else will. And these are, you know, these are illusions, friends. These are not real laws written into the scriptures or the sky
Yeah.
or, you know, some tabula rasa, which is the basis of our life. This is something we inherit. We accept it without thinking and we do it. And I'm
Right.
here to kind of stir things up and have women rethink what they're agreeing to.
Right. Just being aware. I love that you start with awareness and realizing, hey, you're having those thoughts. They are coming up and not to brush them off. I think a lot of time we try to stifle them and not properly deal with them. And they
Mm-hmm.
grow in magnitude. They come up,
Yes.
they reoccur. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a matter of addressing them as they do show up. So that I love that work. And you said something earlier as I was listening, the people who are the default is to say yes. The default is to say I'll do it because no one else is going to do it like I do or going to take care of it. That what comes up is when you say yes, what are you saying no to? When you,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there's that
Mm-hmm.
notion you say yes to being there, to taking on that task, but you only have so much time, so you only have so the 24 hours. So if you say yes to that, you're definitely saying no to yourself. You're saying no to the boundaries, you're saying no to the self-care, you're saying no to putting yourself first. When you say yes, what are you saying no to, really?
And I'm not saying we should always say no. Sometimes it's very rewarding to
Mm-hmm.
say yes. I also want to say it's okay to ask for help. That was something that was very hard for me when I had this, you know, breakdown of my entire life. I didn't realize I could ask for help, and help came. There was
Mm-hmm.
a hospice with a support group for grieving parents, and you know, a free therapist, and I was a little like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And then I just said to heck with it, and I did it, and it was life changing
Mm-hmm.
because I realized I wasn't alone. And this idea that we have to do all this alone, that we have to be the martyrs that our grandmothers or our mothers might have been. No, that is not the world we live in anymore. We have progressed. We have progressed.
And we can be free spirited. Tell us about free
We
spirited.
can. Free Spirit is a project. Free Spirited is a project I'm doing as the sort of major piece of Teal's legacy. And it's really about this process of reclaiming myself after her death and all of the ways that she helped me from the afterlife. Because I did feel her around me extensively,
Mm.
guiding me. It's more of a spiritual book than the Extremely Busy Woman's Guide to Self-Care, which gets into the beginnings of her journals and such. But this is the whole story. And there are some really, really remarkable encounters that I had with her where she appeared to me as light or, you know, light coming around a doorway. I had visions. She was there in my dreams. I mean, she was everywhere. She was in my body at times. And she was helping me cope, and she was teaching me about getting back to myself in the way that she always naturally was,
Mm-hmm.
because that was her gift. So, Free Spirited is also about, by returning to myself, I became more compassionate towards other people. It just naturally happened. And I wasn't looking to do that because I was a really self centered person at the time of her death. But it's about discovering the power of compassion towards yourself and towards other people, and why that matters now.
Right. Why now? Because you've had the experience. Why wasn't that your first book, Free Spirited?
Well, I needed to know what the ending was, Lunid. And for me, the ending has a lot to do with the Facebook group. And
Okay.
the Facebook group has become this incredible place where women bring their most vulnerable, most tender questions.
Mm-hmm.
People ask questions like, why can't I find any friends? What do I do about this guy who's controlling my money? You know,
Yeah.
how am I going to deal with this child who doesn't want to talk to me?
Mm.
These are the most critical, vulnerable, powerful questions we have in our quest to become better people and have a happier life. And I found simply by stepping back and letting the group unfold that these women were going to carry me to a place of creating an environment of greater compassion.
Mm.
And the best thing is, I have women from all over the world who are from all over the world, all ethnicities, all gender identities, all sexual orientations, all coming together, helping each other in the most beautiful, simple, authentic way. And I never could have envisioned this. And this is what the story of Free Spirited is about.
The legacy that Teal has left with you.
Yeah.
And you're being obedient and carrying it. It's beautiful to hear it and to see how it comes back full circle and how you are still being guided.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just because I published the book doesn't mean it's over. Do you hear that, Teal? Yeah, no, I'm like eager to see where it's going to go, Lunid, because I sort of feel like this book that will be out later this year, December of 2021, is going to be my sort of final note on the subject of how this death and this discovery of self-care transformed my life. Yet, I know there's something that will come from it, and I don't even know what it is, but I can feel it. So,
Right.
things are felt and not known, and they're sometimes the best things of all.
Yeah, let's develop that a little bit more, right? You're embracing the unknown, but yet you're hopeful and confident that it's going to pan out. How can one
Yeah.
tap into that?
Boy, it took me that entire 2-year period to even get comfortable with the unknown, because I am like Germanic person who must know what to do next. I've always had the too long to-do list. I've always
Mm-hmm.
had like this, stick in my mind beating me to get everything done. So to not know, to have a day of doing nothing, which would
Mm-hmm.
and turned out to be 2 years of, doing nothing, basically just
Yeah.
writing little essays here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that nothing bad would happen, that I wouldn't fall off the apple cart, that I wasn't going to be left behind by the world, that I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to die. In fact, paid work, I kept trying to restart my old business and it wouldn't go.
Mm.
And instead, an investor came out of nowhere and offered me a gig writing fiction, which I'm still doing. And I'm on my 9th novel for him.
Wow.
It's like, and they're fun, and they continue to expand my message, and I did 5 books about a group of lesbians in Oakland called the
Mm-hmm.
Oaktown Girls series. That's so much fun because
Mm-hmm.
it's about a group of women, diverse women, who all come together as dear friends, and some of them are partnered and some aren't, and they just help each other. They
Mm.
really, really help each other. And these are my messages. This is my
Right.
healing message for
Right.
everybody, just in the form of fiction. So that's cool.
You're having a lot of fun doing what you
I
love.
am. I am. You're
Doing
so
what
right.
you Yeah, doing what you love. And that's life.
Yeah.
Life is doing what you love. And it doesn't seem like work.
Ideally.
It gives you energy, like you just are present. You're in the moment and you hear from the divine, the divinity as well when you're in that space, that head space. And that's what that's being a free spirit and being grounded is about, is being able to silence yourself long enough to hear it, to be guided
Thank
by it.
you for saying that. Thank you for saying that, because I think that's probably the biggest thing I got out of not knowing, was becoming more silent,
Yeah.
allowing more peace and silence into my day. And that's why the morning routine thing is so great, because what better time of the day to
Yeah.
allow in the silence
Yeah.
than the first thing in the day?
Let's do it. How do you get up, dress
All
up, and
right.
show up?
Well, okay, so I'm a person who has struggled with insomnia, and it's pretty much resolved now. But when I've had insomnia, one of the best things I did for myself was to begin my day with yoga nidra, which is I use recordings for it, and it's a guided meditation in which you systematically relax every part of your body, and you begin to go deeper into the layers of yourself,
Mhm.
and you begin to be present to your body as an entity and you as an entity and how they work together. And it is literally called the yogic sleep because you go into your alpha state and you rest, but you're awake and
Yeah.
you're guided and you come out of it and it's as if you've had 2 more hours of sleep. So that's pretty good. Most of the time, my routine is a more simple seated meditation for about 20 minutes. And I love Insight Timer, which is an app which helps me create my own little soundtrack. And I like to have a little something to listen to while I meditate. And it's just, chimes and waves and such. I also drink a quart of water every morning, first
Nice.
thing,
Hmm.
and I have to have 2 big quart mason jars of water every day to kind of keep body and soul together. And if I start the day that way, I seem to have more energy
Yeah.
and more clarity of focus. Part of my meditation also includes a little yogic breathing.
Hmm.
So I do some what people call breath of fire, that kind of thing, probably for about 5 minutes, just to sort of really get my senses moving and my stimulation going. And I always have a few moments of prayer and gratitude. And
Yeah.
I just really get in touch with what I'm really grateful for right now. And that's just wonderful. You know, that
Yeah,
is, that is
it puts a
great.
smile to my face to hear that because you're confirming what every other entrepreneur has said. It's like those things are
Mhm.
non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You're what you need to do to prime yourself for the day. With the meditation, the yogic meditation you mentioned, I do something very similar, and my Fitbit does read it as me sleeping for an hour.
Okay, we'll take
Interest,
that Fitbit.
yeah, interestingly enough, the body's so relaxed. You're taking off into this space where it's beautiful. It's quite beautiful. I can't even explain it to you because
Yeah,
you go through it in the morning. But
yeah.
I do wake up, I do feel refreshed. If I woke up in a bad mood, if I woke up a little stressed because of what happened the
Mhm.
night before, after that meditation, I am a fresh new person, and that's
Well,
what
and
it's
it's
supposed to
really,
do.
I want to say for that, Lenny, that the yogic sleep, the yoga nidra, it is a practice which is led by another person. So it's important, if you're curious about that, to find a yoga nidra recording on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you look for such things. But they're out there, and
Mhm.
just like you're saying, it is. It's like you magnetize your soul to kind of wake up and join you for the
Yeah.
day rather than leaving it behind because you're all frantic and focused on something in front of you rather than within you.
Yeah, and then it's that peace, that moment of quiet we're talking about. You're allowing yourself to have that moment so that you can be grounded, to set yourself up
Yes.
for success for the day. That's your time. It's me time, I like to call it, and that's
Yeah,
non-negotiable.
it is. It is
Yeah.
me time.
I love the hydration because our brain is 70% plus water, and if we're not hydrating, we're really starting up with brain fog. We're starting on the wrong
Yeah.
foot,
And
literally.
a lot of us consume caffeine in the morning. I have a
Yeah.
little matcha myself, and caffeine is dehydrating. So then you need more than 2 quarts of water. You need a commensurate amount of water with your caffeine.
Right? Imagine waking up and going straight for the coffee, like
Hmm.
millions of people do. You're already setting yourself up as a deficit. And so,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that about water. I mean, this has been really, really engaging and looking at transformation in a whole different light, because it's your story, it's your daughter's story, and the proof that you get every step of the way gives me chills because when you find your purpose, nothing can get in your way.
Yeah.
You are
Yep.
you're driven, you're on the right path, and you're being guided, and I'm really honored to have had you share that with us today, Susan. It's really been such a joy. Now I know people are listening and are wondering, how can they find you, how can they connect with you? So please share with us.
I'd be happy to. My podcast is Self-Care for Extremely Busy Women, or you might want to drop by the Facebook group, which is the Self-Care Group for Extremely Busy Women on Facebook. Or you can come over to my blog and read my posts and find my freebies and so forth. And that is at Suzanne, Suzanne, Falter, F like Frank, ALTER.com. Thank you, Lanid.
Yes, morning enthusiasts, you've heard it here first. This has been Susan Falter. That Facebook group is very welcoming. It is a truly healing, a place for healing. I do encourage you to go check it out. And of course, grab your Hit Savers app, get your routine in place and start thinking about you. 10,
Mm-hmm.
20 minutes where you
Mm-hmm.
put yourself first in the morning to allow yourself that self-care so you can be better to show up in your life to take care of everyone else around you, but you take care of yourself as well. So it's been a joy.
Wonderful.
Susan, thank you for the opportunity for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Lunid. Beautiful to be here.
Excellent. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.